Okay. So there are other list view classes. So list API view classes, other list API view classes. So API view classes. So this API view class is a generic. Okay, but there are some specialized API view classes like you have a create API view class and list API view class and delete API view class. And these are used for doing some specialized CRUD operations. Okay, so API view is a generic. Here API view is what a generic API view class. But you have a specialized API view classes. Okay, you have a API specialized API view classes, and you can find that. So there is a API view called create API view class. So there is a create API view class. Okay, so see here, there is a create API view. So there is a generic API views. Okay, but apart from that, you find different API view classes. So if you see the documentation here, or now this will inherit. So there is a create API view class, and there is a list API view class, and there is a retrieve API view class, and destroy API view class, update API view class, and list the create API view class, and retrieve update API view class, and retrieve destroy API view class, and retrieve update destroy and API view class here. So these are called as which classes? Concrete view classes. Means these view classes are inherit from which class? Generic API view class. Okay. And this API view classes even inherit mixin classes. So why this mixin classes? To perform CRUD operations. So there is a list model mixin, and there is a retrieve model mixin, and there is update model mixin, and there is a destroy model what mixin. Okay, because this inherit generic API view class, and it is also inherit which classes? Mixin classes. And why this model mixin classes? Because to perform operations on which one? Model. Suppose create API view class is used for creating a resource. Okay, and list API view class is reading all the data, and retrieve API view class is to read only one record, and destroy API view class is for deleting one record, and update API view class is to update one record. And there is a list to create API view means it is do how many operations? Two operations. One is a reading and one more is what? Creating, right? So these are called as a concrete view classes. So these are called which one here? Concrete. So these are concrete API view classes. So concrete means these are specialized. Concrete API view classes means these are what here? Specialized. So this concrete API view classes, concrete API view classes, concrete API view classes inherits. Concrete API view classes inherit. Okay, what is a generic API view class? And provide and provides the operations, inbuilt operations of inbuilt inbuilt operations of inbuilt operations of which one? Model. So first one is now you see this one. Sorry, create API view class. So there is a create API view. I'm just taking this list and there is a list API view. So there is a list API view. There is a list API view class, and there is a retrieve. So all these are different API view classes. Now here you have some 9 API view classes are there, and these are called generic API view classes. Okay, these are called generic API view classes. Now, for example, now this classes even inherit. This classes inherits model mixin classes. This classes inherit model mixin classes, model mixin classes, classes to perform CRUD operations, to perform CRUD operations on on which one here? Models. So this class, I mean, these classes inherit, even these classes inherit model mixin classes to perform CRUD operations on what? Models. Okay. To perform CRUD operations on model, it will try to inherit which classes? Model mixin classes. Okay. And if you see these are model mixin classes, list model mixin, create model mixin like that. Okay. Now what is the advantage of this is this avoid code redundancy. For example, you want to create a resource. Every time you should write the same code again and again. But instead of writing the same code again and again, the code is written in which class? Create API view class. You have to give only input. You want to insert more, you want to insert data in which model and what is the serializer. You have to give only two inputs. One is model and one more is what? Serializer. The methods are override and the logic is provided by which class? API view class. You don't require to write the logic. You don't require to write the logic. Logic is already written. So let me tell you about, suppose assume that there is a, yes, let us see about create API view class. Now create API view class, use it to create only endpoints. Means where you can create only, you can create what? Resources. As nothing but for inserting data. It is used for what? Inserting data and provide a post method handler. So creating resources, how you handle it? By using which method? Post method. Okay. Suppose create API view is there. We'll try to see all the API views here. Create API view class. So this API view class, this API view class is used. This API view class is used for creating what here? Resource. It is used for creating what here? Resource. You are creating a resource by using which class? This create API view class. Okay. Resource is nothing but inserting data within model, inserting data within what here? Model. So it means uh, it handles which request post request. It handle which request? Post request. So let me tell you example. Hmm. So here I'm trying to create a project. Create an application here. So here I'm creating one model. So there's a model here. So the what is the model is here? Student. Assume that there is a model called student. Okay, now what student is having? Anyway, ID is there. Okay, so I'm writing a so models dot character field, and here I define some maximum length, and there is a course models dot character field. So I define the maximum length, and there is a field fees model dot float field. Okay, now this is a model called which one? Student. Okay, student model is there, right? So after that, so what I'm trying to do is I try to install the application. So I try to install the application, right? Then after that, I'm creating another which is called a serializer in API. I'm creating what here? Serializers dot py. Now from Django REST framework, okay, dot serializers or from REST framework import. What you are trying to import here? Serializer. You are trying to import serializers models dot. Yeah. Uh, okay. Now in serializers, now I'm creating a serializer. Uh, okay, I'm creating a serializer. So there is a student serializer and inherit serializers dot, which is serializer, model serializer. So this is a model serializer. This is with serializer, model serializer. Student serializer is with serializer here, model serializer. And you are trying to define, so there is a class meta, and you are trying to define the model, and there is a model here from API dot models. Import the model. So what is the name of the model here? Student. student model, and you are trying to include all the fields. I'm trying to write what here? All. Okay, now this is with serializer, model serializer. Then after that, after defining model serializer, I'll try to disable CSRF token. You can also use decorator. You can also use what? Decorator. So comes to the view here, and then I'm saying Django REST framework from REST framework dot views. Now views dot views import. What is the name of the view is create view, right? REST framework. So REST framework or generics, and you are trying to import which view? Create API view. So here I'm trying to say student. Okay, student or create a student API. So create a student what here? API. And this create a student API inherit what? Create API view. Inherit create API view. Now you have to define two inputs. You have to define how many inputs? Two inputs. One is model. One is what here? Model. So what is the model we are using? So from models dot from API dot models import. What is the name of the model here? Student. So you are trying to define the model and you are trying to define serializer. You are defining which class? Serializer class. And what is that serializer class is? Now from API dot serializers import student serializer. Student serializer. So you have to define two things. One is a model class. So what is the name of this model class is student. And one more is serializer class. And what is the serializer class I'm using here? Student. The name of the serializer is what here? Student. Okay, so I'm trying to define two things here. Just a minute. So here you are trying to use a create API view. Okay, now this is for creating. And here you have to define two attributes. One is a model, means where you are inserting data. You are inserting data into which model? Student model. And there should be one serialization should be done or not. Yes, because you are not writing which method? Post method. You are not writing a post method. This post method is inherited from which class? Create API view class. The post method is inherited from which class? Create API view class. You are giving only two inputs. In which model you want to insert and how to do serialization. How you are doing serialization? By using which serializer? Student serializer. You can use model attribute or you can also use an attribute called query set. Even you can use a query set by saying student dot objects dot what is that here? All. Students dot objects dot what is that? All. But are you override any method called post here? No. But that post method is inherited from which class? Create API view class. Means you don't require to write the same code again and again. If you want to create any resource, you have to read the data, you have to serialize it, you have to validate, you have to do all these things. That code you are writing it again and again. So to avoid that, you are just using a what do you call it as concrete classes. And what is a concrete class here? Create API view, right? So develop. Now what I'm doing is I define the endpoint here. So from API dot views, okay, import. What is the name of this is create student API. Now I try to define the path, and what is the path is create. Okay, student slash create. Okay, student slash create, comma, create a student API view, and this is class, and you convert this into a callable by saying what view, as a view, right? So what is the name of this is a URL. What is the URL? Student create. What is the URL? Student create. Okay. Now then do the migrations. But before doing the migrations, go to admin.py, register the model, admin dot, okay, admin dot, okay, site dot register, and you are trying to registering the model from API dot models, import the model. What is the name of the model? Student. Now you are trying to register which model? Student model. So first do the migrations. So Python manage.py. So what do you do? It make migrations, then migrate it. Python manage.py migrate. So the migration is done. So after this, I'm trying to say Python manage.py create. So what you are creating here? Super user. Create a super user. Create a super user. I created super user. Okay, create a super user here, right? So after that, run the server. Python manage.py run server here. So I try to use what here? Admin. So login in the admin application. Now this is student. But is it having any data here? No. Now I'll create I'll try to create a client application. I create a client application to perform insertion. I create a client application to perform what here? Insertion. So import what here? Request, and import JSON. Now there is a base URL. And what is the base URL is? Now this you can call it as a base URL. Okay, this is a base URL. Now I want to create a student. Here I write a function called create a student. You're trying to input what here? Name. So input student name, and you are trying to input the course. You are writing input student course, and you are trying to input the fees and input what you are trying to input here? Student fees, and create a dictionary which contain the name, and there is a name, and the course, and there is a course, and the fee, and there is a fee. std JSON equal to JSON dot what you are saying? Dumps. You are converting dictionary into what? JSON, because you are sending the data in which format? JSON format. So whenever you are sending the data in JSON, you have to define the request headers. You have to define the request headers. Define the request headers. Okay, define the request headers with what is that header is what? JSON format. So define the request header. Now request header is which type here? JSON. Okay. So after this, create an endpoint. So create an endpoint. And what is an endpoint is student slash create. Endpoint is a student slash create, because you are sending a request to which view? Create view. Now you are sending a request by saying response equal to request dot post, and you are sending a request to the create resource. I'm saying here base URL plus this is an endpoint, and you are sending the data as a part of request body. You are sending the data as a part of what here? Request body, and you are trying to set the headers. Headers equal to what is that? Headers means you are sending the data in which format? JSON format. Then compulsory you have to define the response request headers. Then print a response dot JSON. Then I'm saying here create student. Okay, right? So we are trying to input the name and course, the fees, and create a dictionary and convert a dictionary into what? JSON, and define the headers and send the request. Now run the code. Now input the student name and student course and try to input the fees. Now you can see student is created. But what is the response is created details. I mean, this student is what here? Created. What is the response? What is the response? Student created. You can see in the backend, as a student is created or not? Yes. As in one student is created or not? Yes. Correct. Now, for this, you don't require to write lengthy code. For this, you don't require to write the lengthy code. Lengthy code you don't require to write. You are just writing how many lines of code? 2 lines of code. Not a number of lines of code, only 2 lines. You are defining the query set and you are defining which one? Serializer class. Otherwise, what you have to do? Override post method, read the data, serialize the data, check the validation. If it is valid, save it. If it is successful, generate, created. Otherwise, generate error. So all this logic you have to write it or not? Yes. But this logic you are not writing it. This logic is already written in which view class? Create API view class. Now it is a base class for this generic API view class, right? Now we'll try to insert. Well, now you can customize it. If you want to customize it, what do you do it? Override. Override which method? If you want to customize it, then you override which method? Override which method? Post method. You can override which method? Post method. You can override which method? Get query set method. You can override post method. You can override which method? Get query set method. Okay, right? Suppose before creating, you want to check the course. It should be either Python or Java or .NET. But if the course is not equal to Python, Java, or .NET, then it should raise what? Error. Then it should raise what? Error. So that validation you can do in which one? Serializer. That validation you can do in what? Serializer. Serializer you can do validation. Okay, right? That validation you can do even in what? Model. So model, you can use the validators or not? Yes. So validation you can write in anywhere. Now you can write in view also. That validation you can write in what here? View also. Okay, right? So why this query set? Because you are returning after creating, you are returning what? Data. Method is giving a response as a the record which is inserted. The record which is inserted. You insert multiple, and let us write one more. Insert multiple records. Now input the name, and this is a name, and this is a course, and this is a fees. Okay, run the code, input and name, and this is a course, right? Now we try to insert how many rows here? 3 rows here. Is it 3 rows are inserted or not? Yes. Now I want to retrieve. Now endpoint. I want to create an endpoint to retrieve the data. I want to create an endpoint to retrieve the data. So there is a class. There is a class. I'm developing a class. Okay, list a student API. List a student API. Is which API? List API. It is which API? List API. List API. It is a list API. Okay, now I need to define the query set and student dot objects dot all and define the serializer class. And what is the serializer class? Student serializer. And define the endpoint for this view. Define the endpoint for this view. Okay, student slash list. Student slash list. And what is the name of this API? List student API as a view. List student API as a view, right? Now, whenever you want, whenever client application want to read, now this is list students, list all students, list all students. Okay, this is for listing all the students. Now, list API view, list API view class. Now, this is use it for reading. This list API view class, use it for read-only endpoints to represent a collection of model instances and provide which method? Get method handler. And this inherit how many classes? 2 classes. One is generic API view class, and one more is what? List model mixin. What model mixin contain? Logic. What model mixin contain? Logic to retrieve the data from model. To retrieve the data from model. Okay. So list. So use it for read-only endpoints. Means you can use this to retrieve the data from model. To retrieve the data from where here? Model. For that, you're trying to use this. Now list all students. Now what I'm saying is response equal to request dot, what is the method is get. But here define the endpoint. Define the endpoint. What is the endpoint is student slash list. Student slash list. Now this is a base URL. This is a base URL. And this is what here endpoint. So print response dot JSON. Now call this method by saying list all students. List all students. List all students. Run the code. Now you can see all the students is get. Okay, right? Now there is a list contain all the dictionaries. There's a list contain all dictionaries. Now I just write here print. So I just get the response. So what is the response here? Students. Okay. And here I'm trying to print type of which one? Students. And student is which type of list? Now when it is a list, you read it. For STUD in what is that here? Students. And each student is dictionary. And how you read the data from dictionary? By using key. Now you are reading student ID and you are reading a student name. You are reading a student name and you are reading the student course and you are reading the student what? Piece. You are reading the student piece. Run the code. You can see this endpoint is read all the data. Yes. Now we created endpoint to read the data from model. But how it is done? By using this view. And what is the name of the view? List student API view. But I don't want to list all the students. I want to read only one student. If I want to read only one student, there is one more API view called retrieve API view. Retrieve API view that is used to read only one model instance, single model instance. So there is one more API view, and this is also handle which request here? Get request. This is also handle which request here? Get request. Now if the client application want only one record or one model instance, then you are using retrieve API view. Use it for read-only endpoints to represent a single model instance, provides a get method handler. So now I want to read only one student, not multiple student. Okay, list a student API or retrieve. Okay, so what will I do is I'll take this as what? Okay, retrieve student API, and this is nothing but so inherit this retrieve API view. What is the name of this is? Retrieve API view. And here also you need to define same thing. Query set saying student dot objects dot all. And define the serializer class and student serializer. But when you are creating an endpoint, and this endpoint should have a primary key. So there is a path and student is slash retrieve. Student is slash retrieve. Okay, slash now integer primary key. Because you're not retrieving all the students. You're trying to retrieve how many students? Only one student. You're not retrieving all the students, but you're trying to retrieve only one student. Now, what is the name of this view is retrieve API view. Sorry, retrieve API view only. So what is the name of the API? Retrieve student API as a view. Now, whenever I want to read one student, whenever I want to read one student, whenever I want to read one student. Now, I don't want to read all the students. Now, partner application or client application want to retrieve only one student. To retrieve only what here? One student. Retrieve student. Now, here I'll try to input what ID. Here I'll try to input what ID. ID I'm giving it. But that ID can be called as what now? Roll number. So that ID, you can call it as what here? Roll number. You are trying to give the roll number here. That ID is nothing but what here? Roll number. So integer of input. Input enter. What you are trying to input here? Roll number. You are trying to input the roll number and you are trying to send this roll number. Okay, you are trying to send this roll number as a part of URL. You are sending this as a part of which one? URL. So I'm writing an endpoint. So what is an endpoint is here? Okay, student slash retrieve. Student slash retrieve. slash. So what I have to do? I have to send the roll number. I have to send what here? Roll number, roll number. What is the roll number here? Primary key. Because you are trying to get the details by using what here? Roll number. So then response equal to request dot get, and I'm trying to define the base URL plus what here? Endpoint. Then I'm saying response dot listen. Now this is retrieving not one student. This is not retrieving one student, not all students, retrieving only one student. How ID selected primary key. Always the logic is written with which key? Logic is written with which key? Primary key. So whichever primary key is there, it will read that primary key. So I said here roll number 1. I can see this is a roll number 1. Run the code and roll number 2, and this is roll number 2. If I enter roll number 12, I can see the details is no student match the given query. Okay, no student match with the given query. Okay, so that is when you enter roll number is what here? 12, right? Yes. But this is reading one or multiple one. So for that, you're trying to override, you're trying to use which class here? Retrieve API view class. It says retrieve API view class and list API view class and create API view class. Now you can see, suppose retrieve API view is there, but retrieve API view inherit which one? Retrieve model mixin. If you see retrieve model mixin, it is if an object can be retrieved, this returns what? 200 as a response, and with a serialized representation of the object as a body of the response. Otherwise, it will generate which error 404. Means retrieve model mixin. What code is having? It is having the code for retrieving the data from where? Model. Okay, retrieving the data from where? Model, right? Now see here, this is a get query set or get object. So there is a methods. So what is the name of the method is get query set. And what is the get query set method is doing? It is trying to read data. Data from which one? Model. But suppose you don't want, you want to customize it. You want to customize it. Then what do you do it? You just override. You want to customize it. Then what do you do it? You just override which method? You just override which method? Get query set method. You try to override which method here? Get query set method. Okay, get query set method. Now this will call the get query set method of which class? Super class. Getting or not? This will call the get query set method of which class? Super class. Suppose assume that you don't want to list all the students. You want to list only the students with the course name equal to Java. With the course name equal to what? Java. Then what do you do it? You'll try to say, now this is a query set. Now this is a query set is there. No, I'm writing get query set. Now here, so here, what I'm trying to do, I try to get the query set, right? Means I need to read the data from which model? Student model. Now suppose this is a query set. I'm writing a query set. Query set equal to, what is the name of the model is? Student. Student dot objects dot, what I'm using? Filter. So filter where course equal to, I'm writing what here? Java. And then return, what do you return here? Query set. Return the query set. Now sorry, this is create, right? Now list is there, no? In list, by default, is it listing all the students are not? Yes. But I don't want to list all the students. Then what I'm doing it, I'm overriding which method? Get query set. I'm just overriding a get query set, and this get query set method get which details, only the filter course equal to which one? Java. Instead of writing this method, you can also write. Now here I said what? All. Instead of saying all, what will I write? Filter. Filter course equal to which one? Java. Now just move to client application. Move to client application and list all students. List all students, but will it list all the students or only Java students? Only Java students here. Got only which students here? Java students. But how you customize this? You customize this. You customize this by modifying which one? Query set. You customize it by modifying which one here? Query set. Now instead of writing here all, here I'm trying to use which one? Filter. So filter course equal to which one? Java. But if I don't write this, if I'm writing here all, so definitely I'll get what? How many students? All the students. I'll get what here? All the students, right? Now there is one more view. And what is the view is update API view. So here update API view used for update only endpoints for a single model instance. Means is it update all the model instances or only one? Only one, right? It will try to update only one model instance. So it will try to update how many model instances? Only one model instance. So for that, you are trying to implement which view? Update API view. Now just see here. So I import this update API view. Now there is a class update student API, and this is update API view, and define the query. Why this query set? Because after updating, it is written value. And after updating, what it is doing? It is returning one value. Updated details. Okay, query set equal to student dot objects dot. What is the method is all. Then define the serializer class. And what is the serializer class? Student serializer, right? Then I have to define the endpoint. URL. So what is the URL is? See here. What is the name of this is update student API. Update student API slash. What I'm writing here student slash update, and you are updating a student. You are updating student, and you should send that student details as which key? Primary key. So you are trying to define the primary key. Okay, comma update student API as view. So here you are sending a primary key. Why this primary key? Because you are not updating all the students. You are not updating all the students. You are updating how many students? Only one student. Now, which student details you want to update? You have to define that. Which student details you want to update? Okay, which student details you want to update? Define that, right? Okay. Now write a client application. Write a client application. So this is update student. So what you have to do? You have to input the roll number. So input which student you want to update, and you should input the name. So input, what should I input here? Name. Then you have to input what here? Course. Then input enter what here? Course. Then input fees and float of input enter fees. Then create an endpoint. Create an endpoint. What is the endpoint? Is student slash update. Now you are concatenating roll number. So this roll number is a primary key. This roll number is what? Primary key. And you define the response headers. You define the response headers. You are sending the data as a part of response. And you are sending data in which format? JSON format. STUD equal to dictionary which contain the roll number, which contain the roll number, and the roll number is which is having roll number. I said your name, and there is a name, and course, and there is a course, and fees, and there is what here? Fees. Now convert this data into which format? JSON format by saying JSON dot dubs, and this is a dictionary, and response equal to request dot, what is the method is put method base URL plus endpoint, comma, I'm writing a data, and what is the data is student JSON, and you are trying to define the headers saying that you are sending the data in which format? JSON format. Then I print here response dot JSON. Now call this function update student, run the code, enter the roll number 1, name is Naresh. I'm modifying the course to C++ 2000. Now you can see the student details are what? Updated. So previously Naresh is which course? Python. Now is updated to which one? C++. Now just go to the admin and verify here. Now change the course to what? C++. Okay. Now you want to update the student which is not exist. You want to update the student. Suppose 3 is there. Roll number 3. Name is a Kishore. And the course is, I want to change pro Python. And I just input the fees. Now you can see the student is updated or not. Yes. The student is updated. You can see the roll number 3. Okay, roll number 3. Then if you run this, I input the roll number 10. Okay, some name and some course and some fees. Now immediately it is generated error response or not? Yes, saying that there is no student match with this given query. It means the student is exist or not exist? Not exist. The student is not exist, right? So that is update students here. All these are the client application. Client means it can be mobile application, it can be desktop application, it can be what? Web application. A web application may communicate with what? Another web application by using this APIs. I want to delete it. Let us complete this, delete it. Then use what? Use what? Destroy API view. Use what here? Destroy API. So destroy API is used for deleting how many rows? One row only. Okay. Now use it for delete only endpoints for single model instance. Single model instance. You are trying to delete a single model instance by using destroy API view. Destroy API view. Right. So for that, develop one view class. Come to the views and import the view class. And what is the name of the view class is destroy API view. Now there is a class, and what is the name of the class is destroy student API, destroy student API, destroy student API, inherit, destroy API view. And here also you define the same thing, query set student.objects.all and serializer class. And what is the serializer class is student serializer. Define the URLs here, define the URL here. So same, but this time it is not update, it is what here? Delete. Delete or destroy. Anything you can write it. So what is the name of the API view class? Destroy student API and define the API view class. Define the API view class. Now create a client application. Create a client application. So this is a deleted student. Now input, enter roll number to what here? Delete. Enter roll number to delete, and you are trying to define the endpoint. So what is an endpoint is? So this is a endpoint, but it is not update. It is what? Destroy. It is not update. It is a destroy. And you are trying to send a request by saying response equal to request dot, what is the method is delete. And you are sending a request to an endpoint base URL, and this is called as which one? Endpoint. So print response dot listen. Now whenever you want to delete a student, I just call a function called delete student. When you run this, whenever you want to delete a student, now run this. I want to delete 2. So roll number 2. So there is a 204. Just here. So you're deleting it by using which key here? Primary key. And what is the primary key here is roll number. It's actually not required. Oh, what is a request method? Uh, uh, it's a broken pipe somewhere. But deleted. Actually, it is what? Deleted, right? Deletion is done. But so deleting is done. See, deleting is done. So what is the ID is a 3. Now this is deleted. 204 means deleted, right? So here you have to handle. What you have to do is if response dot response dot what is that status? See, response is having a status or not? Yes, response dot status. Response dot status equal to what is that 204? I'm handling here like this. So I'm saying here student is what? Deleted. Student is deleted. Otherwise, invalid invalid what? Roll number. So run the code, but one is there. Status as status coda. Status underscore coda. Yes or no? Status underscore code, I think. Right. So what is this here? Invalid roll number. Because that roll number is not there. 2 is not there. Run list 3 is also not there. Because all the details are what here? Deleted. Now create a student here. Otherwise, 1 is a name and this is a course. Oh, name, course, and this is a piece. Okay, one student is created whose roll number is what? 4. So run the code. And what is the roll number to delete? 4. A student is delete. Now here you have to handle the response. The client application should handle what here? Response by getting which code? Response status code. Now here, if the response status code is 204, you are saying student is what? Deleted. Otherwise, you are saying this roll number is not valid. This roll number is what? Invalid. Right? So yeah, these are CRUD operation creating, listing all the students and listing one student, updating student and deleting student. Now, even you don't require to write multiple views. Here, what we did, we write how many views? We write how many views? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Instead of writing 5 views, I can write only one view to handle all the requests. Only one view to handle all the requests. I'm writing student API and student API inherit. Inherit which one? Last one. Not is the last one is retrieve, update, destroy API view. It means it is trying to handle how many methods? Get method, put method, patch method, and what? Delete methods. Now you don't require to do it. You don't require to do it. So individually, you don't require to write. Everything you can write in one view class. Everything you can write in how many view classes? One view class. One view class with the 2 lines. Because are you repeating the same thing again and again or not? See here. Is it code is the same in all these classes? Yes. Code is the same. Query set serializer, query set serializer, query set serializer, query set serializer. Same. But operations are different. Creating, updating, deleting, retrieving, right? Instead of creating so many, what you can do, you can create only one view class. You can create only one view class. And what is the name of the class is retrieve, update, destroy, API view. Retrieve, update, destroy, API view. This will retrieve it, update it, as well as what? Destroy it. I don't require retrieve, update, destroy. 3 classes are not required. 3 classes are not required. Instead of writing 3 classes, you can write only one class. So that will avoid code redundancy. Query set equal to student dot objects dot all. and define the serializer class by saying student. Define the serializer class by saying student serializer. Now this is one endpoint. Line number, right? Okay, right? Now once this is done, define one endpoint. This is only one endpoint student slash, and you define the integer. What is this now? Primary key, comma. Yeah, this will handle all the requests. How many requests it will handle? This will handle. What is the name of the view is student. What is the name of the view? Student API. Student API dot dot as what here? View. So one endpoint, but this will handle how many methods? Three methods. Get method, put method, delete method. Patch method also means you can update partially also by using that. Now what is the name of the view is student API. Yes, write the client application. Now here we write so many, right? All these are there. Now in this, I can use only one endpoint. I'll use what? Will use student slash retrieve or only student? Only student. Only student. I need to write same functions. I should write the same functions, but this time, what is my endpoint is student. What is my endpoint is student. What is my endpoint is student only. The endpoint is what? Student. And that one endpoint handle all the requests. That one endpoint handle all the requests. Yes, you don't require to write the same code again and again. Now I'm just, I'll copy this code. Now here, what I'm doing is, this is update, sorry, retrieve is there, no? Then I remove this retrieve. I just write only student. I just write only student. Now retrieve student. What is the endpoint? What is the endpoint here? Student. Student endpoint is able to handle how many methods? All methods 4. Now roll number 4 is there. We deleted. Deleted. Add student. So roll number 5. Now this 5 is exist or not? Yes. Here you have to do only changes in what? Endpoint. Now here what is the endpoint is? Student. And what is the endpoint is? Student. Because this is able to handle how many methods? 3 methods. Get method, put method, delete method. Get method, put method, and what? Delete method. Right? So this is more customized. And this is done by using concrete view classes. These are called which view classes? Concrete view classes. So there is a concrete view classes and there is also view set. Now that is also, now even more customization is done by using another class. And what is the name of that class is view set. Okay. But that we'll discuss not today, but tomorrow. And even we'll see how to customize it. Okay. Because this inherit how many classes? Two classes, API view class and model mixed in classes. Then how to customize these classes, even we'll discuss tomorrow. Right. Thank you. And tomorrow we'll continue this. Right.